Have you ever found yourself wrestling with a tough choice? Caught between what's best for you and maybe what's best for everyone else?
Oh, definitely. Or those murky situations where the rules aren't clear.
Exactly. Where personal gain sort of bumps up against the collective good. We all face these moments, right? Big and
Mm.
small.
Mm.
Well, imagine someone who uh, tackled these exact questions head on centuries ago. Not in some modern seminar, but way back then.
Right.
Today, we're diving deep into the life and mind of Antipater of Tarsus, an ancient Stoic philosopher.
Yeah, his name might not be as instantly recognizable as, say, Zeno or Marcus Aurelius.
True, but his influence was, well, profound, really far-reaching.
And that's our mission today, isn't it? To unpack how Antipater, this kind of real-world ethicist, took Stoicism.
Which could be pretty abstract.
Exactly. Took it from abstract theory and really grounded in the practical stuff, the everyday life. He challenged some established norms.
Paved the way for shifts in thinking that we still feel today, right?
Yeah.
In ethics, relationships.
Our place in society. Absolutely. Yeah. These ideas resonate.
And for this deep dive, we're drawing heavily from Ryan Holiday's excellent book, Lives of Stoics. It gives us a great window into Antipater.
A figure often overlooked, so it's good to have that source.
Okay, let's set the scene a bit. Antipater, he takes over leadership at the Stoa.
That's the Stoic school, yeah.
Succeeding Diogenes of Babylon, around 142 BC. He was influenced by Diogenes, sure, but interestingly, his approach was also shaped by reacting against someone else.
Ah, Carneades.
Yeah.
Diogenes' former student.
Right. What's the deal with Carneades?
Well, that contrast is really key. Carneades, you see, he was quite happy arguing contradictory positions. One day this, the next day that.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah. He seemed to enjoy kind of misleading his audiences in Athens just for fame. A real showman.
Okay.
But Antipater, totally different, polar opposite. He had this unwavering commitment to truth, to honesty, and, importantly, humility. He brought that back to Stoicism.
So no spotlight for him.
No, you wouldn't find him fighting for it.
Yeah.
He was too busy just working, dedicated to the real philosophy behind the scenes.
That's fascinating, especially in Athens where public debate was huge. So he deliberately opted out of those big debates at the Stoa or the theaters.
He did. He chose, a much more personal path.
How?
He'd invite friends over for dinner, and they'd have these long philosophical discussions.
Dinner.
Yeah, Athenaeus actually mentions this in The Learned Banqueters, calls Antipater a wonderful storyteller at these dinners, using powerful anecdotes to make his points.
So dinner table diplomacy instead of public showdowns.
Exactly. And he focused on his written work, too, not aimed at rivals, but really offering guidance for, the timeless challenges of just living.
I really like that phrase, dinner table diplomacy. There's a sort of genius to it and the focus on writing. Let him connect with individuals, right? Get specific, be kind.
Precisely. It allowed him to truly see, as Holiday puts it, the needs, the wants, and the struggles of real people, not just faces beneath the rostrum. He was tuned in to the individual.
You can almost picture him.
Right. If he lived later, he could have been a fantastic advice columnist, maybe.
Or like a master of the political ground game.
Exactly. While Diogenes was the big-picture diplomat, Antipater was focused on improving individual lives. Persuasion, connection, one person at a time.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. One of his really revolutionary ideas you mentioned was about marriage and family. Why was that so revolutionary? Hadn't other Stoics talked about it?
It's actually quite striking how much it was neglected. Strangely neglected, as Holiday says.
Really? Like who?
Well, look at the big names. Zeno, the founder, left no natural heirs. Cleanthes, his successor, lived so frugally there was just no room for a wife.
Huh.
And even Chrysippus, though he cared for his nephews, he really lived for his work. For many early Stoics, these personal attachments seemed secondary, maybe even irrelevant to philosophy.
But Antipater saw it differently.
Completely differently. He passionately argued for choosing the right spouse, for raising good children.
He even used Socrates as a cautionary tale.
He did. Warned young men about Socrates' famously disagreeable and bad-tempered wife.
Ouch.
His point was clear. Choose poorly, and your wisdom, your happiness, it will be tested.
So the radical insight here was that marriage wasn't just like a social thing.
Exactly. It wasn't just a contract. It was a profound ethical choice, foundational to a virtuous life, foundational to a good society. That shift really brought Stoicism into the deeply personal.
He was pretty direct about it, wasn't he?
Oh, incredibly emphatic. He literally said marriage was among the primary and most necessary of appropriate actions.
Wow. Primary and necessary.
And he went even further. He said, "He who hasn't experienced a wedded wife and children has not tasted the truest and genuine goodwill." That's a huge shift in thinking for a Stoic.
And the impact was massive.
Yeah.
It's amazing that someone like Michel Foucault, centuries later,
Yeah, the 20th century philosopher.
credited Antipater with basically pioneering a new idea of marriage, not just legal or economic, but a blending of souls.
A conjugal unit, Foucault called it, something that could withstand fate together, build a good life together.
That's a powerful concept.
It really was a humanizing shift for Stoicism,
Yeah.
moving away from that sort of detached indifference to everyday life. Diogenes Laertius, the ancient biographer,
Right.
he observed that Stoics started to approve of honoring parents and brothers in the second place, next after the gods.
So family moving up the priority list.
Definitely. And you see, this thinking, it didn't just transform Stoicism or Roman life, it got absorbed into Christianity and the very world we live in today. It shows the real work of an ethicist grappling with these messy, real-world issues.
Speaking of messy issues, Antipater also brought this common sense approach to ethics generally, didn't he? He took issue with that old Stoic idea that all sins and wrongs were equal.
Yes, that was a major sticking point for him.
How did he argue against that? It seems kind of counterintuitive.
Well, think about the earlier Stoic line. Being away from home is being absent whether it's 1 mile or 100.
Okay, logically,
Yeah.
maybe. But practically.
Exactly. It's rigid, almost nonsensical for ethics. Antipater argued quite reasonably that murder is not the same as a lie,
Of course not.
nor is a small lie, like lie of omission or maybe some misdirection of the diplomat, the same as a tyrant who manufactures a pretense for war that costs countless lives. He saw the crucial nuances, the differences in scale and intent.
So he was basically bringing Stoic ethics down to earth, making it more flexible, more usable in the real world.
Precisely. He was the major force pushing Stoics away from that kind of absolutism. He loosened the absolutism, acknowledging a spectrum. You weren't just all virtuous or all vicious.
That makes so much more sense.
And he stopped minimizing those so-called indifferent things, who we marry, how we dress, what we eat. He put ethics right at the forefront of the philosopher's concern.
Turning philosophy into.
A productive life practice, a real guide to living. Holiday even calls it an operating system for daily life.
I like that. An operating system. Okay, another big contribution was this idea of ethical behavior as a craft, right? Like sportsmanship, something requiring real work and effort.
Yes, not just something you are, but something you actively do.
And he used an analogy for this.
The famous archer analogy. We train, we practice, we aim our best.
Okay.
But we know loads of factors are outside our control, right? The wind, the arrow itself, maybe a sudden shake. They all influence the shot.
So we can't guarantee hitting the bullseye.
Exactly. Which raises the question, what does that mean for trying to be virtuous if we can't fully control the outcome?
Right. So what's the takeaway then? Our true worth isn't about hitting the bullseye every time.
No, it resides in the continuous effort, the intention behind the shot. We miss, sometimes badly,
Happens to everyone.
but we keep trying. We adjust, we learn, we improve. And the more shots we take with good intention, the more good we'll likely do overall. That was a huge breakthrough, allowing for human flaws and the importance of just striving.
That model seems incredibly important. You mentioned Diogenes brought philosophy to public life.
Diplomacy, statesmanship.
Antipater brought it into private life.
Absolutely. He zeroed in on actual human dilemmas,
Yeah.
the kind we all face. Who should we marry? Is work or family more important?
Real stuff.
Totally. What rules govern a deal between two people when the law isn't clear? Should we be honest even if it costs us money? How do we treat people less fortunate? Does society owe anything to the poor or the unlucky? These aren't abstract puzzles.
Yeah, they stand in pretty stark contrast to some of those classic philosophical thought experiments, like how many angels on the head of a pin
Or the trolley problem, which gets debated endlessly.
Right. But the truth is, we do have these real concerns, real decisions to make every single day, and how we make them in our polis, our immediate community.
It affects the bigger picture, the cosmopolis, the whole world community we're part of.
Which brings us to that Stoic idea of oikiosis, right?
Yes, exactly. This idea of our circle of concern expanding outwards. It starts with ourselves, but naturally grows to include family, friends, community, all humanity.
The understanding that our interests are naturally connected to everyone else's.
It's fundamental. And this was as pressing in the ancient world as it is today. Think about modern debates donating to charity. wealth inequality.
Yeah.
It's the same underlying principle.
Let's go back to that specific debate you mentioned earlier between Antipater's predecessor, Diogenes, and Antipater himself about selling things like grain or property.
Right. Diogenes argued for limited transparency, basically. Just follow the letter of the law. If the law doesn't require you to disclose a flaw, you don't have to.
Okay. Seems a bit minimal.
It does. But Antipater wanted more. He sought this balance between acting justly and crippling self-defeating moralism. He wasn't saying be a martyr, but be genuinely ethical beyond just legal requirements.
He was asking that deeper question.
Yeah. Are we not, at least in a way, all on the same team? Think about selling a house with, say, faulty sanitation. Sure, maybe you gain financially by not disclosing it, but that gain comes at the direct expense of another family's health and well-being.
Which isn't good for them, obviously.
And if you zoom out, doesn't that family suffering repeated across a city ultimately hurt the city? The state. It's about collective well-being, not just individual gain.
That makes perfect sense. And it leads right into Marcus Aurelius, doesn't it? What's bad for the hive is bad for the bee, and vice versa.
And Holiday points out he drew that insight straight from the life and work of Antipater. It's a direct line.
Amazing.
And we have Cicero to thank for preserving Antipater's argument here. He quotes him, "It is your duty to consider the interests of your fellow men and to serve society.
Duty.
You were brought into the world under these conditions, that your interests shall be the interests of the community, and conversely, that the interests of the community shall be your interest."
Wow. Powerful stuff.
Professor Malcolm Schofield sums it up well. Antipater believed we shouldn't commit injustice, and we should treat others' interests as not alien from our own, not separate, connected.
And this had real-world political consequences, didn't it?
Yeah.
You mentioned his student, Gaius Flacius.
Yes, involved in the Gracchus affair, that whole controversial plot to redistribute land to the poor in Rome.
Which wasn't just politics, it was applied ethics. Antipater's ethics.
You could certainly see it that way. That insistence that individual gain shouldn't trump the collective good. That the hive needs all its bees to thrive.
Do we know what Antipater thought about it?
Well, he was very old by then. But Holiday suggests he might have, smiled at his students' actions.
Really?
He certainly would have agreed that vast income inequality was an issue a Stoic and political service would need to address. Even Diogenes, perhaps, would have admired the political skill involved, even if he disagreed on the ethics.
So all these revolutionary ideas about marriage, nuanced ethics, the archer, the common good, they all came back to his core idea, his formula for virtue.
Yes. In choosing continually and unswervingly the things which are according to nature and rejecting those contrary to nature.
What does that mean in practical terms?
It means ensuring our self-interest didn't override the inner compass each of us is born with. That natural inclination towards good, towards connection. Doing the right thing, cultivating that inner compass. Whether you're a big shot on the world stage or just, an ordinary person making everyday choices.
Antipater passed away in 129 BC.
And Plutarch gives us this really poignant detail about his end.
What's that?
His last words were apparently words of gratitude. He specifically remembered his prosperous voyage from home to Athens.
Just remembering a good journey.
As if, Plutarch says, every gift of a benevolent fortune called for great gratitude. It suggests he wasn't bitter or complaining in old age, just thankful.
That's a lovely image, a fitting end.
It is. And because of his life and work, generations after him were left, as Holiday puts it, a little better armed in the pursuit of virtue.
His impact really was profound then, humanizing Stoicism, grounding it in the messy reality of daily life.
Championing that common good, reminding us we're all connected, our actions ripple outwards.
He encouraged us to bring philosophy right into our private lives, didn't he? Into those daily choices, even the ones that seem indifferent.
He absolutely did. Which leaves us with a thought, maybe for you listening.
Yeah.
What seemingly minor or overlooked daily choices in your life? If you approach them with Antipater's kind of ethical rigor, thinking about the common good, how could that not only improve your own well-being, but also contribute even in a small way to the good of your own personal hive, your family, your community, maybe even the larger cosmopolis?
Food for thought. Considering the impact of those quiet ethical choices we make every day,